the Bungie kids with plasma pistols glowing. It's our podcast show with Brian and Friends and Frankie.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Bungie podcast. We're back. We've had a little bit of an absence, for which we apologize.
Every show,
But,
every beginning that you do is that. It can't just be the Bungie podcast. It's got to be the Bungie podcast. Welcome back.
Hey, yeah. It's great to be back. Hey, did the theme song just run just now, or did we decide that we're going to start looking for new options?
It's gonna run.
Oh, in its entirety?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
We
We're
are
done
on the
with
lookout
that.
for something new, though.
Maybe we should
say that.
get the Bare Naked Ladies to do us one.
Yeah.
You can knock that out in like 2 seconds.
I heard we can get the Melvins to play one.
Really? The Melvins?
They're a punk band from the 80s.
Our Bungie producer, Alan Murray, was a road bassist for them for like
the
a year or two.
Melvins!
Yeah.
Oh.
Or I can play our theme song in Rock Band if I need to.
Is that one of the hidden tracks? Is that a theme song?
It's coming soon. Just like our Guitar Hero download, we're going to do the Bungie podcast for Rock Band. That's a good idea.
That's good.
Hey, who's here today? Who is
We have
this?
Christopher Barrett's here today. Barry.
Barry. Yeah.
Hello, everyone. I am Barry.
And Barry's one of the art directors, right? Barry, what is it that you do here, Bungie?
Yeah, art director, and I'm sort of creative directing DLC right now.
Downloadable content. So all the new maps for Halo 3 are
That's
under
right.
your supervision and
Yep, send all your
guiding eye.
complaints to me.
No, on this show we send all the complaints to me.
yeah,
okay.
all the compliments go to you. The complaints just go right to it.
Yeah.
Awesome. Like normal then.
We'll have a couple of Pelican-related complaints in a minute, but we'll get to that later.
So we definitely want to talk DLC. Maybe before we do that, let's get to know Barry a little
Let's
bit
meet
better.
Barry.
Yeah, let's.
Barry bio.
How long you been here at Bungie?
Let's see, since '99, I think. Yeah, it's October. My first Bungie experience was the Halloween party in Chicago, where I showed up, and that was the one where Marty was dressed as a strange, like stalker guy in a mask and was going around like.
Didn't Dave mention that story
Yeah,
to us?
right.
Nobody knew who he was, right?
And Marty never talked.
I was
all night.
I was at that party. That was my first experience at Bungie.
Now, did
And,
you stay in Chicago, or were you part of Bungie West?
No, I was in Chicago.
Okay. So what were you guys working on around that time?
That
Myth?
was the infamous. I got hired on for the infamous Phoenix project.
Oh.
yeah.
So, and before that, I had been doing some stuff for Myth 2.
So there's been more than one infamous Phoenix projects, right?
There's.
I mean, when I started at
more
Bungie,
than I can count.
When I started at Bungie, I think you were also working on a project that was codenamed Phoenix before you guys were all gobbled up by the Halo 2 process.
Yep. So yeah, there was.
It's just the go-to code name for any
right.
work in
Any
progress
new
project.
thing that we're eventually going to.
I just don't like the fact that implies this rising from the ashes of something that didn't work before.
You know what's weird is this came up recently because something about Phoenix was part of an interview question, and I'm thinking, yeah, there was a group at Bungie working on a game called Phoenix before they moved over to help with Halo 2. Turns out, did you know this, that an ensemble, Halo Wars, was also codenamed Phoenix before it became Halo Wars?
Is it
heard that,
coincidence or?
Yep, unrelated.
Totally
you
is,
weren't
yeah.
working on a Halo RTS at all. I mean, totally different.
Yep. So
Okay.
Yep. So there must have been like 1, 2, 3, 4 or 5. I think it changed names a little bit in later days, but we still thought it was the Phoenix team. So
Yeah.
there were at least 4 to 5 different things. That went
But then you worked on Halo and Halo 2.
I did. I
back
worked
to back.
on Halo 1 at the end. Came in and helped out, finish that up and do some levels for that. And then as well on Halo 2, I came in about halfway through.
And you
helped
were
work on
doing
the
art
ends.
back then as well, right?
Yeah.
So
Well,
Yep.
we'll take us back even further. Before you joined Bungie, what were you doing? Because we've already heard from other old-timers like Dave Dunn, who was like an architect who just
Right.
randomly thought he would have fun doing game stuff.
Right. So, I mean, I've always been a gamer, but I I did illustration in school. I went to school for illustration, and ended up doing web design. So I was in New York doing websites and e-commerce sites, and
This is like in the early days of the internet, right?
yeah, this was before the big
ASCII
everything.
and
Yeah.
stuff.
Well, no, it was a little bit. I did some of that too. I did some ASCII work, but a little bit later, working on some stuff was fun.
That was like just
website.
pure HTML back then, right?
Yeah, pretty
I
much.
can't
Well, what do we got
remember.
now?
Yeah.
What's going on?
They got
Web
Java
2.0
They got
and-
Flash and
Not
was-
on BungieNet, do we?
but we have got cascading style sheets and all kind of like really fancy patented technology at work on Bungie.net.
We do?
Yeah.
What's a cascading style
That's
sheet?
Well-
when we run out of memory because of that that text input error and it blows up.
It must be. I mean,
Well,
not
it
to
wasn't.
get
I'm
too
not
far
that
off
old.
track.
I'm not
but-
that old, so it wasn't. Yeah, there was a little bit of. It was definitely the earlier days, but there wasn't the big, sort of internet bust back then. So,
Yeah, it was like all about news groups and
yeah.
So you actually
Prodigy.
took a risk moving from an exploding industry,
I
which was
did.
doing great, to go work for a video game company.
I did. So sort of the thing was I was doing myth maps in my spare time. I don't know if you ever heard of there was a group called Badlands.
We have
So
quite a few people on the Bungie team, I think, were
Yep,
ex
part of
myth map
Badlands.
makers.
Yep. So I started by doing that for Myth 1 and then went into Myth 2. And actually, it's kind of funny, about how I got hired at Bungie. I came out actually originally for a web design position. I was going to work with Max on doing BungieNet or something like that. And while I was out here interviewing, they were over talking about Myth 2, and I was talking to Tunser. And he said, "Oh yeah, Myth 2's going great. We're doing good, except we don't have any multiplayer levels yet." I don't know. Am I supposed to talk about this stuff? Maybe, but
This is
this is
awesome.
going to give you the.
That's great.
But the craziness of Bungie as it is. They hadn't had any multiplayer levels yet, and they had maybe like 6 to 7 months left before they were going to ship Myth 2. So I showed him my stuff, and I was like, "Hey, I do make multiplayer levels and stuff." And he was like, "Oh, really? Interesting." So somehow, by the time I left, going back to New York, I had been signed up to do all the multiplayer levels for Myth 2 at home.
Wow.
That was how Bungie solved it back then. Oh, these are great. You go home and work on these.
Yeah.
And maybe when you're done.
But
It's part of your interview, right? It's like,
Is
can you
that-
pick up my laundry and maybe wash my car, and then we have another meeting at 1?
Is that how we ended up with that line of code that would format your hard drive then? Was it just...
Yeah, were you
go
were
home
you
and write this code for
uninstalled.exe?
us,
yeah, right. That was awesome.
That was a very unorthodox approach back in the day.
Yeah, well, we thought, it'd be kind of funny.
So what Halo maps have you worked on that people will recognize by name?
Oh boy!
If you can remember the real names
and
that were
Halo
in the
1?
game. Yeah.
Assault on the Control Room. I worked on that one, and then the one where you run back through it in reverse at nighttime. I worked on that one as well. I worked on the swamp level a little. I can't remember the name of that one. That's
It's the one after the flood.
It's after the
Right.
flood cutscene, right? It's you
You come back out.
Yeah.
And,
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
So I worked on that a little bit. Helped out on that at the end.
That was the same swamp that was featured in the Halo graphic novel too, I believe.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
Crash Covenant ship was there. You haven't seen that? It was your baby.
No. Well, I just came in at the end to help out.
Okay.
That's why I
All
don't
right.
know what that is.
You just did the fog.
Right, exactly. I did the fog
Green.
and the leaves and the water. I made the lily pads. That was awesome.
Nice.
No, that's weird that you say that because I remember distinctly at the end of Halo 3, we had a media guest here. I was touring around and you were hand painting shadows onto... You were either hand painting like actual blades of grass or shadows onto grass all throughout
it's very-
outskirts in Halo 3.
Oh, right. Yeah. There's a...
Like that seemed like the most tedious
Yeah, I actually...
work of all time. I mean, obviously the attention to detail is what
Right.
really works so well, but...
Yeah, it comes from, I think, that I've always been really anal as far as those kind of things. Like even from making myth maps, like going back and just having to do the color maps, they were called, the terrain maps, just pixel by pixel going in and touching up each little bit. So I've always been, excited by putting blades of grass, I guess. As fun as that sounds.
It's nice grass.
I'm a grass fan. Second
Yeah.
only to water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You think it's weird though nowadays? We were talking to Dave about this. Like, could anybody in the industry just break in the industry and show up one day and like be sent home to create a bunch of multiplayer maps? Like, it seems like it's so much harder to get your foot in the door nowadays versus all the stories I hear about old Bungie guys that like, I used to be a furniture mover and I was like selling hot dogs down the street and walked in. Next thing I know, I was shipping Marathon. Like, it just seems like it was just arbitrary back then. If you happened to be there and you were smart and had a
I don't know. Have you
pulse.
seen some of the guys they're letting in here these days? I don't know.
Well, nowadays it just seems like you have to really specialize, right? It's like if you want to be a grass painter, then you better have a whole reel full of like 13 different
paintings.
types of grass.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
I got myself some alfalfa. I got myself some sawgrass. Yeah.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously there wasn't programs in universities for game
right?
art back in the day.
I think there was a lot more like people like made mods. They did stuff in their spare time, and that was the way you sort of built up your resume. You just sort of, or else you knew somebody in the industry or whatever. And now that you can go to school for a lot of this stuff, you can go to they have programs all over. I think it's become much more standardized in that way.
Well, we get that question a lot, especially on the website, from a lot of kids who would love to be working here someday or any game company. And like, what kind of advice, like, how would you help these folks go on to achieve greatness?
Send Frank tons of messages on Xbox Live.
That is true.
That's key.
Icon has a recon. The best thing you can do, I guess, I would say, is depending on your chosen like field you want to go into. I mean, whether you want to go into programming or art, or
Let's just talk about art. I mean,
okay, sure.
Let's not
Programming's
kid
hard.
ourselves.
Screw that.
Yeah.
It's like, what the hell? 20 times a million go to 40. No way.
Oh, but you're saying drawing is just easy. You're just saying anyone can draw. That's what you're saying.
I'm saying the drawing is easier than programming. Because anyone can draw a shitty picture, but not anyone can draw a shitty program.
Well, and
right?
art
You know
is,
what I mean?
art's
Get 'em,
pretty
Barry.
That was a good. You made your point.
I can
that's
do a
really
crappy
well.
face, but I can't do a crappy program.
It's true. I mean, art's subjective, right? Like, Frank can draw
right.
something like Mr. Chief that you guys would look down on like as total garbage, but
What?
it's become a worldwide phenomenon.
What do you say? What do you
But you
say?
can't write code at all. No, I'm proving your point. Like, you are your point. You become a successful artist, and you can't write a lick of code.
I'm what's called an outsider artist.
I thought Frank
Art
made Melee.
brute.
A fringe artist, huh?
Didn't Frank code Melee?
You wrote the Melee code at the end? Yeah.
Hey, wait a minute. Yeah, but you did the melee arbitration.
Oh, that's right.
I had it so it was sweet, so the winner always won, and then you were like, "No, I don't like that."
But let's just use the field of art as an example, since that's where you're closest to. Like, what advice would you give aspiring artists to someday become what you are?
Okay, so sure, like anything with art, like the traditional foundation of art is always important. Art school, was the number one thing I'd say. Like, I mean, look into universities that have a really good art program. Like, you got to draw. I mean, just because you want to make, tanks doesn't mean you shouldn't be able to draw people. You shouldn't be able to draw,
So the
anything
fundamentals.
yeah, exactly.
Don't take them for granted.
Exactly. So definitely do that. Also look into, like I said, I got into it doing mods and stuff for a myth. So definitely there are a ton of mod teams out there with like Half-Life and, or any of the other like Unreal Engine and all that stuff. So get
Halo
out
2
there
Vista?
Huh?
Halo 2 for Windows Vista?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's what I mean.
Very robust
exactly.
editing.
Exactly. Definitely.
That's a nice T-shirt
Forge.
you got there.
Yeah.
That's what's that? Oh, it says Microsoft on it. Cool. Good digs.
But when you have applicants that come through, I mean, the first thing you're looking at is their portfolio, I assume, right? Or they're real or both.
Yeah, definitely. And just looking at like, I'm focused more on environment. So we get a lot of applicants who, just do environment artwork and like do, anything, pictures of or images, 3D models, like learn 3D modeling packages, I don't know.
Dave told us about some pretty funny submissions that he's seen over the years.
Oh, right. Yeah. I try to, I let Dave filter those out now. Like I've seen a lot of different ones. So you get random ones. I mean, you get people who just really have their own specialties. Like, what was he was talking about the strange, the football lovers and stuff. Was he talking about that one?
Wasn't there one that had like
Some folks just really into like elf sex?
Yeah.
Like some
That's
people are just
exactly
into
what
that.
elf sex.
And that's just
Yeah.
that's what you get.
Actually, those are the ones
Furries.
I look forward to the most. Yeah, I mean, definitely send me
you
your
never
elf,
know.
sick,
I mean,
elf
we're
sex
independent. Our
pictures.
next
and-
project could be all based on furries.
Could be about furries. Yeah.
It's an expansion of the Teddy Ruxpin universe.
If you would like to see a furry game, send Frank an instant message over Xbox Live to Frankie.
Awesome.
And it's a Frankie.
Frankie.
Yeah, you can see my
Frankie?
collection at deviantart.com. It's no,
Do you
can't.
still do a lot of illustration outside of work? Because nowadays it seems like you're now that you're sort of a director
Right.
type person, you're doing a lot more orchestrating and polishing and guiding, and maybe not so much illustrating anymore.
I don't do as much as I'd like, certainly. Every once in a while, I get a chance to do some concepts or whatever. I think.
Do you have like an online gallery you want to plug or
No.
portfolio site? Okay, just checking. You know,
I've been working on it for
Some
the past
artists
6
do.
years, waiting to put it up for the past 6 years.
You haven't
so.
designed your own website yet?
I have it, but I haven't put it online.
Oh,
so,
okay.
yeah, too busy.
Well, maybe we should talk about DLC then. Something that people might actually care about that are
What are
listening.
you talking about? You just undermine everything.
We're
you
talking
just
about, I don't know,
I
elf
don't know,
sex
I
is
just-
pretty awesome.
think that
I'm
people aren't
very
into-
interested, but
I wanted to talk before we got into DLC. I wanted to talk about something Barry and I have talked about before.
oh yeah,
about,
sorry.
I mean, environment art is you guys sort of get overlooked a little bit, don't you? Here, I
Uh,
mean, you know, the glory hogs, the guys stepping in front of the cameras. Aren't those the designers?
oh, bringing up that.
I thought you were going for a different R branch, but no, you went straight for the pretty boys.
I went straight for the
Yeah.
heart. Yeah,
Yeah,
I mean,
we just make it look pretty. We don't think about gameplay at all.
Well,
we don't
that-
do any of that.
Well, that's the thing. So, what makes a space good to play in? What makes a campaign space good to play in, aside from crates?
Well, lots of crates definitely are good. Well, I mean, we definitely the approach we take at a lot of studios take the approach like, you know, let's design out a space and then just, you know, artists will make it pretty. I mean, we have a pretty good we work pretty well with the designers, like from the beginning of just, I don't know, making sure it's fun to play in the beginning, and that comes from, you know, the guys massing out the levels, like the artists working on it. Like from the beginning, they're worried about not only composition, not only what it's going to look like, but how cool it's going to be to play. And like, I mean, the simple is like whether it's jump heights or you know what you see when you round a corner or the pacing of a level, like all is like you have to be working really well with design and art. So
Because it's way more than just you guys making it pretty. And the collector's edition DVD sort of goes into that a little bit, which is why partially why I want to expand on it. It is something that it's not portrayed as a clash. You guys actually have to work pretty harmoniously, and it's not
Yeah.
like, oh, I'm just an artist.
right,
But they just place encounters, right?
yeah, that's like.
They're just like a
Well,
fight goes
we
here.
try and make, you know, the levels awesome, and they're always just worried about throwing more guys in. So, no, I don't know. It's
you guys take
definitely-
a lot of the flack, though. I mean, I think the game turned out beautifully, but you know,
Right.
obviously around the beta, for example, we heard a lot of criticism about certain people maybe thought visually the game wasn't up to their expectations. But it wasn't the
Right, right.
engineers who built the engine taking the heat; it's the artists.
Right,
And
right.
You guys can only do so much of the tools you're given, right? So
That's what it is. Yeah, it's
you
definitely.
know, maybe a little bit to Luke's point. You guys are sort of the silent guys in the sideline making it all happen, but taking all the heat, not getting much credit.
Right, exactly. And now's our time to come out and get that
This
credit
is your
on the
time.
Yeah, this is where we're here to shine.
Last two guests, environment artists.
Yeah. That's
by
true.
design.
That's true.
It's a sweep.
Yeah.
I think I asked Dave, do you have a particular one environment in Halo 3 that's like your favorite for any particular reason?
Well, I think probably what's it called in the shipping game? I don't know. Citadel. What did that tend up?
The Covenant.
The Covenant, yeah. I think, like, from the beginning, we wanted to make that level just because we wanted to make sure we went back to, like green rolling hills
Right.
and blue skies and just make the classic Halo 1 mission and, you know, where you get vehicles and you get to go down into little, like, space dungeons and all that crap. So, like, that was one, like, I knew, like, regardless of the story, regardless of what the gameplay was, we were going to make that level no matter what. So that would be my favorite one, I think, definitely.
Well,
I can go with that.
call.
Looking at Halo 3 now and picking your favorite level, isn't it sort of like trying to pick your favorite child, where whenever you look at it, all you see are their flaws?
You should be a parent right now.
Is that not how parenting
I don't think
works?
it's that hard to pick your favorite child. I think I'll
You've
let you know
you've
soon.
only got
but-
one, right?
Yeah, well,
Well,
eventually
which
I'll
one's
let
your
you know.
favorite? That one?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
Did you want a real answer? No, you don't. Yeah. It's just a good,
Yeah.
good
I
funny.
had
That's
a joke in my head, and I was like, I gotta try and
Gotta
find a way
get
to
this
awkwardly
joke.
shoehorn this in.
But that's a good example of a level that's easy to judge, because when you look at that level, there's a lot of like stuff you've seen. You can compare it, right? If you're in a Forerunner structure, it's like it's all alien and it's made of like metal crystal and whatever.
Right.
But some of that is like a hike, so people will look at it and compare it to their real life experience, which is where I think driving games get it really easy. everyone looks at a driving game and goes, "Oh my god, it looks exactly like real life." But it's because it's a hard, smooth, glossy surface that you can replicate over and over and over again.
Right.
So,
Also,
but doing
like
a forest, my favorite thing about Citadel / the Covenant is not the living trees. It's all the dead brush is what makes it have, ironically, life for me. You'll see like a withered, crappy little dead tree beside a beautiful pine tree, and it makes it realistic. It reminds you of things you've seen.
That totally is true. Like that didn't happen until like the last a little bit before we finished it. Like we didn't have any of those dead trees and fallen over logs and all that. The branches that were broken off, and like the second that got added in, it totally made it feel much better and much more real.
And as you go up that main ramp under the arch, that's where it really starts to feel like a real place, I think. Because you start off, I have a weird problem with that level. It's not a criticism, but it's the water feels tropical, and then the rest of it's alpine.
Right.
And it's sort of cool as well because it's a real contrast, but it does throw you a little bit. You're like, where am I? Am I?
So you can talk to Mike Zach for that. Like he found all these images of like alpine lakes and alpine. I don't know.
Yeah.
He found all this like reference for it. Like, and I was like, I don't know. Is the water supposed to be green? And he's like, yeah, check it out.
I
And
guess
I'm like,
Tahoe.
okay.
Tahoe looks like that.
Plus,
Exactly.
plus
I've
have you
been-
ever been to a Forerunner constructed world?
I have in my dreams.
If you were going to build your own world, wouldn't you rather mix like the best of the tropics with the best of the?
Skiing.
Yeah, why not?
Yeah, why not? It's just ski off a ski
can
jump into a beautiful
into a
lagoon.
warm. Yeah,
So quit
Why
hating on
wouldn't
the
you?
Forerunners.
No, it's right. I mean, it does look like glacial water, and it's perfect. But you start off, and because you're at the water, feels tropical.
Right,
then you
right.
turn, north, as it were, and then boom.
God,
snow.
nothing
game,
is ever
dude.
good enough for you.
No, I love it. I'm just saying. God.
See, goes right back to the environment
Go
artist
back and
getting
play
the
that
shaft.
driving game. Yeah.
I'd like to be the environment artist on a driving game. Yep. Dirt, tarmac. What do you want?
Took a bunch of photos of this city. Time to scan them.
No, fam. All the guys that turn 10 are like, what? I'm like, I know it's hard.
Hey, another question I asked Dave. What was it? Top 3 or 5 all-time favorite games? Remember?
Oh yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah.
Barry plays lots of games.
Returning feature? Yeah, you do actually. You're very
Yeah,
active.
Favorite game. So,
Hellgate.
yeah. That was fun. That was my favorite game for about 4 hours.
Yeah, I was there with you.
Yeah. Let me see. I really like Vandal Hearts. I don't know if anybody's played Vandal Hearts on the PS1.
Frank, what's it?
Is that Disney infused?
No. That's
that's
Kingdom
Kingdom
Hearts.
Hearts.
Yeah.
Oh.
No, this was like.
That was the one that was Looney Tunes infused?
Vandal Hearts is the
you
start
hate that
of a
kind of
lot
game,
of
right?
spiky hair right off
Okay.
the bat. It takes
Frank
place.
hates those types of RPGs, so
It was turn-based, so that's what I liked about
Oh.
it. It was
Oh,
cool.
yeah.
Turn-based.
Like a
So
little
it was a tactical game. So that was
Oh,
really
like-
good.
Like Final Fantasy Tactics: War of the Lions.
talking about the original, though.
Except
Back
better.
when you were in diapers, the original Final Fantasy Tactics, they started it all.
So I like that. I spent many a wasted day on Dark Age of Camelot. I don't know if anybody's played that. I spent, I think I had like
Not so much.
300 days spent on that, I think.
Wow,
I'm familiar with
that's like double my WoW time.
It was,
Yeah,
it was like
that's-
World of Warcraft for shut-ins, actually.
Yeah, exactly.
Just because World of Warcraft is for every
it's
day.
for erudite men about town.
It was World of Warcraft for hardcore players, basically. That's how that
It
worked.
was World of Warcraft minus the casual.
You played
Right,
WoW for
yeah,
a little
exactly.
while, right?
So that-
I
so you
did.
got-
It was too casual for you, though? Is that kind of what it
No,
was?
It's just I really got into the PvP in Dark Age of Camelot, so I had a lot of fun doing that.
So you get your turn-based strategy art, you got your RPG. What else?
I can't say myth, although that
You can
was
say
one
that.
of,
That's
Well,
Yeah,
actually,
a lot of
I think
people-
I gave Dave the clause of excluding Bungie games because they would
Okay.
Really?
honestly take his top 5.
A lot of people only work here because that was, that's what they're
fine.
into.
All right, throw myth in. That's
okay,
fine.
myth was awesome.
Myth 3, you said?
No, yeah. What was that?
You were art director on that,
I've
right?
never heard of that.
Oh,
Yeah, I
Yeah,
never heard of that game.
don't people deny?
Wasn't that your box art?
I've heard that's existence doesn't exist, right? So,
What?
Myth 3, that's what Tyson said.
Well, Bungie never made it, so we were like,
I think there is a game called Myth 3. You
Yeah.
can find it online. Somebody made
Oh,
a
there
game
is.
called Myth 3.
There is. Oh, there is.
Right.
And they're probably listening, going, "Oh, it's bastard."
What? Well, it's good, great IP that they own.
That's Frankie on Xbox Live.
come on.
We're trying to help you because we know that you're trying to boost your gamer tag up that rating.
To pass me.
Ever since that poll came out. Oh, yeah. Did you hear that, by the
Yeah,
way?
he did.
To segue there real quick. You
it's
dropped
like-
down the rankings when
Like
you're
I
out of
told
town?
Luke, I was gone. He had the only way he could beat me was for me to not exist anymore.
So
on
somebody
Xbox
has
Live.
some service out there. It's sort of like Nielsen ratings for Xbox Live, but it's a popularity poll of like which gamer tags get searched or messaged the most or looked up the
Right.
most.
And
And at one point, Frank was up there.
I was
with-
number 3.
He's
Number
3.
He was 3, and then Luke was down there a little bit, and then in the past month or so, they've.
I thought this was
after-
my debut on the charts, actually.
After a couple hump day challenges, Luke's now.
I think I debuted at 5.
And Luke started managing all the content on Bungie favorites, which a lot of that
Right.
would include movies that involved his gamer tag, I think.
That's totally
So he's-
untrue.
Oh, I didn't know he was padding his score.
That's totally untrue, though.
You're a big Street Fighter fan too, though, aren't you? Aren't you always part
Oh
of
yeah, I
isn't
forgot
Barry
about
Thon
that.
like,
Yeah,
after
Yeah,
you?
that is
Yeah.
true. That is
Yeah.
true. It is.
The internal Bungie Street Fighter tournament structure is named after Barry. It's
Yeah,
Barry-thon. And
So-
who's your chosen character?
Ryu definitely.
Yeah, every
I
time.
should've come.
You went
Almost,
to Vegas
almost
with
every
Sheik
time.
and a couple of guys too, right?
I didn't go.
Oh,
I
you
missed
didn't go
out
to
on
the
it.
World
No,
Finals?
I
Oh.
missed out. I'm gonna maybe go next year.
You
Sounds
excited
like
about
fun.
the new Street Fighter game?
Oh
Street
my
Fighter
god,
4?
that is the coolest thing I've ever
But it's
seen
just
in
a
my
weird,
life.
it's just a trailer. I mean,
It doesn't
it's
matter.
got no
It
game
doesn't
in it at
matter.
all.
Like I could just if they
What if it's in 3D, though?
that's fine.
Really?
Whatever. As long as it plays 2D, that's all that matters.
Yeah, I think they're
and
gonna be
Capcom
like-
does it. Like I mean, Street Fighter EX2 or EX or whatever came out, and that was like they didn't make it, so
Yeah.
didn't have
Didn't
that
count.
Capcom
Didn't count.
quality. Yeah, exactly. That was there.
Another game?
More games. What else? I recently, I don't know if it would qualify as my favorite game, but I recently bought a Vectrex off of eBay.
That's
Nothing wrong with that.
right.
How
Yeah.
much?
I don't want to say.
Oh, no. I remember they were selling that. The reason I ask is because I remember one week in Britain they were selling them for £25 when they were trying to clear them, and you got like 4 games free, and I was like, nah, it's dead.
When was this?
This was when it died. This was the year it
okay.
died,
Yeah.
and they were just trying to clear them out, and I was like, I should have bought like 20 of them. I'd be a millionaire.
Oh, yeah. It wasn't too much. Like you wouldn't be shocked how much it was.
But it is the greatest video game console ever made.
Yeah.
I mean, it's got everything. It's weird. It's proprietary. It has arcade classics on it.
And this is officially the second time I've ever heard of it.
What? Oh my god!
And the first time, no joke, was when Barry sent the auction link to one of the internal mail groups.
Right.
He said, I just got this. And I looked at
you
it and I was like,
you
what's
dead to
hell
me.
is that?
You've never heard of Vectrex.
It was a monitor and it had the controller built in.
What
It
kind of
was awesome.
monitor was it?
Is it Etch-a-Sketch?
It was a vector scan monitor.
It was a vector monitor.
Was it made by
yeah.
Tiger?
No, it was made.
sounds like a tiger toy.
Shut
doesn't
up!
it?
It was made by Milton Bradley. It was.
Yeah, it was.
It was
So-
awesome though.
Cool. Now is it okay to talk about DLC maybe?
Yeah, I guess.
Just a
why
little
not?
bit about the new hotness?
Why not?
Okay. So,
So we had all these maps finished.
actually, yeah.
Oh my god.
Apparently there was a little confusion on an interview that Luke did with you on the website or something.
Yeah.
You care to clarify that?
You want
So,
me to...
well, I'll clarify.
Well, the last time he clarified it made it
I
worse.
didn't do a good job. No.
No, well, it was. You said that standoff was what was the exact thing that Barry said? Standoff was a map that was.
It was
Originally
planned,
it was originally planned.
for Halo 3 shipping,
But
but we
planned like it was drawn on a napkin.
right. Yeah, I mean we
well,
basically
you guys had tons of like overhead designs for
There were-
maps that just didn't make the cut for one reason or another.
There
right?
were a bunch of designs we tried, and we're like, I mean, at the end of the day, you pick like the ones you're gonna make for the camp, to ship.
I
and-
just like the idea that like we had the luxury of time just to make a bunch of fully complete
yeah.
maps and just hold them.
right.
Yeah, sure, we have all this extra time. Let's do it.
So you've just been sitting around for the last couple months, doing
Just
nothing.
waiting for the time. We're like, can we release them
Yeah.
yet? Can we release
He's like
them
just
yet?
goes send.
So yeah. So anyway, to clear that up, no.
So
we
the
definitely-
idea's been around, but obviously
Right,
no
yeah,
work
exactly.
was really able to be put
I-
into it until Halo
right,
3 was out
right.
the door, vacations ensued, then you came
Right.
back and made these maps.
And that
Exactly,
map
exactly.
was
Standoff.
Standoff,
Standoff.
formerly known as
Bunker World,
Yeah.
Right.
So but there was another piece of confusion that I was on vacation in New Zealand and I heard about this shit was the confusion about the Forge specific map Foundry.
Yeah, somehow people got confused and thought that it was just an empty box when it
Just
got
a
shipped.
cube.
Yeah, you will download this map and open it up, and
Nice work, Barry.
there will be nothing in it. Like, what? No.
See, Frank's point, anyone can be an artist. Like,
Yeah.
I can make that map.
Well, I could have made certainly the geometry for the empty box, but then Windows textures and stuff might have had some issues with.
No, so Foundry does ship fully populated in a
Right,
default
so we
state
made
that you've created.
So it's so Tyson came up with a really cool layout for it.
Okay.
It's fully playable. You can play every game on it, whatever. It just so happens that you can
But
then
at the same
disassemble
time,
it.
I think on Bungie Favorites, for example, there could certainly be a cleared out version that Luke would have
Right,
already gone
right,
through and
right.
removed all the objects
Right,
for
right.
you.
Yep.
It takes a little while to delete them all because there is a lot of stuff going
But
on.
that's
in
why
that
we're going to
level.
do it for them, right?
Right.
Actually, funnily enough, given that misunderstanding, it's one of the most densely structured corridor turn maps in the game. It actually feels really sort of
That's-
claustrophobic.
I just love the idea of
compared
just a
to-
map called Box, and that's all it is. No covers. It's like dodgeball. You have spawn points on either wall, and it's just spawn and die. Boom.
I
need
played
to
a game that
introduce
had a
you
map
to-
like that in it pretty recently.
Yeah, I did too. I got all my shotgun perks. I mean,
You're still playing it?
I was playing a certain game and enjoying it the other night.
Yeah, me
I was
too.
getting on though because I didn't have all the perks and no one would explain what I needed to do. But that's online. Like, what do I do? Where do I shoot?
you need to find a veteran player to ride the coattails.
Yeah.
Anyways, back to DLC.
Yes.
What was your overall vision then for this project? I mean, I know first thing you guys sat down to figure out was the price.
Yeah.
Oh God!
Right. Exactly. Like, what
That's
can
one
we
more-
squeeze out of
One more thing
our
we wanted to
fans?
just sort of clear up. Obviously, we've talked about that internally a lot. It's been going. It's something that we knew. Whether it was 1 point or a million points, we obviously knew that fans would be somewhat disappointed, as they are every time we have an announcement about downloadable content. On the one hand, obviously, there's a lot of people working hard on these maps. They're not free to produce. On the other hand, at the end of the day, fact of the matter is none of us at this table or any of us in this room building even have the ability to actually mandate a certain price point.
Right,
Well,
that's true.
we do have some influence on the price point in that we send Microsoft a bill for all our man hours and materials and software programs and rent and
I mean,
all
I
sorts
think
of
it's
stuff,
awesome
so-
that we were able to sort of mandate that we are going to make the maps free over time. That's something
Yeah.
that we stand by. We started that with Halo 2. We're going to keep doing that. And a lot of people, I think, even today look back and think that we sort of set the mold for how that stuff should work. One cool thing this time, though, is that you aren't going to have to wait for the maps to show up in matchmaking like you did for Halo 2. They'll be there right away.
Yep.
Right.
Which there will be no separate playlists for people that don't have the maps to have a bad experience. The system will now, as I understand it, throw you all into the hopper together, and if you have
Right.
the map, it'll put you in a game on that map. If
Right.
you don't, you'll play on something else.
Right, and I think we talked about making specific, like, we'll make a specific
I think there
hopper
will
just
be,
for
There
Yeah,
will
so
be like
people can go in and play
There will
those,
be like
right?
a new toys hopper.
But you remember
basically,
last
where you
time-
go.
Definitely.
Yeah.
play
Remember
it.
with Halo
Oh,
2,
yeah.
it's like if you bought the maps, you had one playlist. That's all you could enjoy until
Yep.
the maps became free. So
Right.
like you kind of were penalized, even though
Yep.
you're the one that paid the money.
Yeah.
Now the system will do that
Automatically know
decision
who-
making.
Which
Yeah.
will
Who has
hopefully,
what
I mean,
maps.
in a weird way, make people feel better about paying for it because they get to use it when they want immediately.
Yeah.
And it's more.
Well,
of a
they're
value, I
awesome
think.
maps, and some people have told us that according to their user research, the price is right in line with where it should be. So,
Well, I mean, given my play habits, it seems pretty cheap to me.
well,
but
they're cool. I think obviously they're high quality maps, and
Well, we should talk about each of the first three then.
Yeah.
I mean, there's
yeah.
all
You want to
kinds of
walk us
stuff.
through it? Can you kind of give us your vision, like just at a high level before you guys even came up with these first three maps?
Well, we
Obviously,
had-
there are more than three
Right.
maps. We've already hinted that we have something else coming out in the spring. We won't talk about that today, but
Well, these are the ones we had finished, so no.
Okay,
Sorry to keep going back. No.
Send.
So, okay, well, let's talk about we talked a little bit about Standoff. And so the cool thing about that one, I think we had the idea of wanting to make a level where vehicles and, let's see. Vehicles and infantry can kind of play together really well without having to make a huge map like Valhalla or Sandtrap. So we basically made the bases. It's kind of like I think I said in the interview before. It's kind of like
Blood Gulch.
Blood Gulch, there you go, thank you. But kind of condensed. So the vehicles kind of do a figure eight or sort of an S through the middle.
So like a little bit bigger version of Beaver Creek?
Yeah, something like that. I think so.
It actually, visually it looks like and spoiler ahead for campaign players. Visually, it looks a lot like the last part of Voy, right? Where the big gun is.
Yeah.
It kind of feels like that to me as well, except inverse because it's kind of built in a crater rather than up on a rise.
Right.
And just that's how it feels to me. It's big enough for vehicles, and you're right. And the vehicles have cover the whole time, so you can use them.
Right. Yeah, definitely. We also wanted to make we really wanted to push the idea of a lot of the times we do end up making maps in a crater or in a canyon or whatever. We really wanted to push just a 360-degree skybox that looks really beautiful with the the dishes in the sky and seeing the.
I found an Easter egg on there. I'm not saying what it is.
So how do you enforce the player area in a map like that? Then obviously, for Snowbound, we have some perimeter defense systems.
Right.
Sometimes you just have good old-fashioned invisible walls.
Right.
What would you guys choose to employ
It's basically
in this map?
there's a drop off on one side so that you can die if you jump off one side, and then there's a short little cliff, but on one side that you can't really jump up. So there's a little bit of an invisible wall there, but we thought it'd be better to make a really cool view than to worry too much about some people maybe hit a wall or whatever, but not too worried about it.
No, we'll get to that later. You know what I'm talking about.
I do know what you're talking about.
Wait, you can fly a Pelican in multiplayer? Internet?
Oh, don't get me.
Yes. No.
Barry, stop. People are just going to cut that snippet out. It's going to be on Destructoid.
But so that map's awesome. That map's cool. It's got a really cool the sun sort of setting, and it's got a really cool look. I think people really like that.
I just noticed today that giant dish is actually rotating.
Oh yeah,
it
moves
turns 30 degrees, right? And
Yep, it's awesome.
And then the bases have a gate mechanism similar
There
to
is.
the gate on High Ground, for example.
Yep,
Right?
there's a switch, and that'll open. Each base has that. It actually opens the shutters in the windows, so you can then shoot in or throw grenades through the windows, or there's a door to the side you can open up and get in. So.
And the weapon layouts are symmetrical on both sides. There's warthogs at each base. I think there's a couple mongoose on the map as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then there's power-ups on either side of the map, rocket launchers on either side of the map, a Spartan laser in the middle.
Yep.
And there's a complement of BRs, and there's a turret on top of each base. I think that's the complete, pretty much the complete
Nice.
power
job.
weapons layout on the map.
Grass
Yeah.
everywhere.
Grass
Lots
galore.
of grass. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, I've played it quite a bit. I really like it. We played
No,
with the 49ers.
that's great. I agree. It's
It
cool.
one of the things that's my favorite about Standoff, and I hope that I don't know what the spec is yet for the playlist, but it can accommodate. You can play Cotton and I talk about playing 2v2 on it, and you guys have had a bunch of good 2v2 games, but
We played 1v1.
Yeah,
and
we
it
played.
worked.
This was the map that Frank and I played snipers and swords on. His brilliant game type, which was fun.
Yeah.
But we also shoehorned 16 guys on it and played 16 player, and it didn't feel clustered at all. There's still plenty of space. It's a really versatile map, and hopefully it'll show up in a ton of different playlists.
Yeah, there's plenty
Absolutely.
of routes that you start to pick as more people get in it. You just start to spread out to fill out the circle.
Right. Yeah. There's a lot of
So-
extraneous
Yeah.
area out to the side where vehicles can
Yeah.
run.
And
but
it's
if you're
extraneous when it's a small game, but when there's a lot of people in there, you need to use it.
But
so
when
it
you're on
ends up-
foot, you sort of gravitate towards the middle, and there's a lot of cool cover and stuff for play there. Yep. Sweet.
Did you just have? You okay, Brian?
Yeah, sorry.
A little gas.
My beverage.
It did look like it, didn't it? You had that I gotta unbutton a little bit, let some of the air out.
It's this beverage on top of Sarducci's.
They do make a fine sub.
They do make a delicious sandwich. And so then the second map, we talked a little bit about Foundry. So I guess the third map is Rat's Nest.
Rat's
And this
Nest.
is the map where you get to fly the Pelican, right?
If you're good enough.
Yeah, but that's the thing, right?
Icon has Pelican controls now.
Yeah, recon armor is the only bigger tease than your Pelican.
Luke's just busting your balls because you picked a glorious,
is a
emotional
really pretty
screenshot
screenshot.
that happens to feature the Pelican, a prominent location that could spur some speculation,
That's true.
but we're putting that to bed
Yeah,
right now.
it's no more flyable than the Pelican from Valhalla. It's just less braid.
Yep. That's true.
But there is a behemoth on that map, right?
Is there?
What?
I don't know. I don't think it.
Is there
it
enough
could-
ceiling height? You could have fit one in
Maybe.
there, right?
I know we put scorpions in there. Like not
Really?
as deep. Yeah, there's scorpions possible in the.
Oh, in Forge palette, you can use a
Yeah,
scorpion?
yeah.
So this map is obviously inspired by the UNSC base that you encounter in the Halo
Right.
3 campaign.
Yep.
The Crow's Nest campaign mission.
Yep, that's the rat's nest sort of play on the words there. So it's sort of indoor when then it's up on the cliffside, which is pretty cool. You get the big vista out over Africa. What else can I say about that?
It's a circuit, right? I mean,
It is.
in a lot of ways, it's like a giant NASCAR circuit with a lot of
Awesome.
tunnels and stuff in between the track.
Right.
So it could be really sweet for Rocket Race.
Great race map. I mean, the amount of race variants you can make. Anyway, first thing I did in Forge was put ramps everywhere where there wasn't a ramp.
Yep.
So
Because you could race right through the middle
and just
through,
jump
like, the
over
sword
stuff.
power
Yeah.
up and
So
cut through to the other side
actually,
of
the first
circuit.
place I put a ramp was on that cliff edge. There's a broken section of tunnel that where the Vista is.
right.
And where the Pelican is. And it looks like you can just reach it if you could just jump far enough, right? So I built a ramp and I got on the Mongoose and I got up to top speed
There
and I
we go.
leaped across. And what happened when I got about halfway across, Barry?
You just didn't make a good enough jump, right?
No, I exploded. I exploded in an invisible electric fence.
Well, wait, did you have recon on and were you on fire?
I can has
Only
recon
way you can
and
make
yeah.
the jump. Only way the jump can be made.
So at some point we ended up in the sort of outlying area there, within the area Frank's talking about. There's a platform and there's a Pelican on it, and we put it there to make just a cool view, right? And so it turned out a few people had put down like the grav lift and like boosted with a ghost and had been able to get out there. And it was going to pose all kinds of issues with
Camping.
Snipe camping out
Yeah,
there on
camping,
the
people
platform?
taking
Flag,
the oddball and getting out there, and nobody
Yep.
else can get out there.
Yep.
So we just decided, like, let's not even go there. Like, it's going to bring up all kinds of, like, people are going to get, upset.
And that part
pissed,
was
so-
added visually. I mean,
Right.
as a visual flourish near the end. So it's not like you'd known about it the whole time of
Right,
the
exactly.
design development.
And I think, for the 95% case, like, it's going to be a cool visual thing, and, I think it'll be fine.
Then for the
But-
5% case, it'll be the complain case. Yeah, the 5% that are left over will be the tears case.
But, they'll probably find a way to get out there anyway, so. Teleporters
Buff up the kill volumes.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
So.
But it's a really weird map because it has it's one of the biggest maps in the game, right?
It is. Yeah, it is really big.
It's
but
enormous, but there's a shortcut straight across the middle. Again, if you think of it as a NASCAR track with like a pathway right across the middle,
Right.
That's really simplifying it. But you can get from one side of the track to the other in no time at all.
Definitely the.
It's no good for one-on-one,
Right.
but
Yeah,
it
yeah, you
works
might-
pretty well. It even works with 2-on-2 weirdly because there's so many vehicles and so many shortcuts. So
Definitely the idea there was where we tried to integrate vehicles and infantry, and you could do either, right, on that map is but not make the vehicles overpowering. So they get
Right.
their own sort of track around the outside,
Yeah.
and then the infantry moves and the people run on the inside, and they
Yeah.
sort of have a shortcut, which is a pretty interesting dynamic.
and there's lots of long-range combat as well because it has definitely the longest corridors in Halo ever by
Right.
far. So it makes for some really interesting long-range combat as well. But
I don't think that it's actually I don't think its longest corridor is longer than the longest corridor.
In longest.
Yeah, in longest. I think that longest is still the
Really?
longest corridor. If I were just to guess arbitrarily,
I mean,
would say
if you think
yes.
how long it would take you to drive down longest in a Warthog versus
Yeah,
like a
but
few
when
seconds.
but
I mean,
if you're
it's
talking
a-
about the racetrack straightaways, maybe. But then if you're talking about the racetrack, I mean, just semantics. You'd have to talk about all sorts of like distances between the right side of sand trap. But if you're talking about a corridor, like enclosed hallway
Yeah.
spaces, I don't think the hallways are technically the longest. I still think it's longest. Just saying.
Somebody's going to measure.
yeah, it's easy
That's
enough
fine.
to
Do it.
Yeah.
Send a note.
Email Frank.
Yeah.
Xbox Live.
If I'm wrong, great.
Yes, there's not going to be a lot of sleep lost over
Yeah.
this.
So we got one more map then?
Yeah, and then Foundry,
Yeah.
which we
Right.
talked a little bit
Right.
about. Which Tom Doyle talked about it being like Legos a while ago.
Sure, yeah.
And I think you said you can remake Hang 'em High.
I don't. What?
Yeah.
Sorta. I think I put sorta.
Yeah, you could, but it's going to be really hard for people to do, but really easy for me to download all their stuff. Thanks, guys.
So, I mean, Foundry has a bunch of really cool Forge unique Forge elements.
Right, so
Are we also going to see some of those Forge elements apply to the other maps
they
as
are.
well?
Some of them are in.
Yep.
Like I've heard about some really unusual stuff, some of which I think we've already mentioned, like for
What?
example. Like,
We haven't mentioned that, have we?
yeah.
No, that's okay. I'll cut it out.
Oh, I thought you put that on the. I thought that was on the website.
No, it wasn't. Why would it be?
All right, well, bleep that.
We can.
No, I guess not.
All right.
Well, I don't know why. Whatever. I don't know why what we were saving it for.
We keep weird secrets, dude. Jeez.
The
It was like the only good thing on Alan's list. There's like, what about shield doors? Do you talk about those?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, those are. You can put those right.
Is there anything on Alan's list of new Forge elements that you have talked about?
Yeah, the shield doors were on the
And
web
ramps.
thing.
There's shield doors. There's ramps.
Yeah.
There. Man cannons.
Yeah, and the man cannons.
All right.
you could use that to get
Let's
across to
bring
the
us back on
Pelican.
track.
Oh no, wait, you couldn't because you just blow up.
But yeah, there's a bunch of new and sort of unique items where you can the shield doors obviously can make like totally different base
Yeah.
structures than
And you-
currently exist.
Right. So you can
Bridges
put those
and
on, but
ramps
they are
and-
by no means built into the levels at all.
Yeah, I
And,
mean, everything's compromised when you're playing around with it yourself, right?
Right.
But I mean, there's so much fun you can have just making random stuff. But,
Yep. So, man cannons, ramps.
And somebody
Great
else had asked
walls.
this, but just to clarify for our listeners, there's no easy way for these new Forge elements to be added to existing maps, for example. They require something along the lines of a big auto update or a lot more work, and it's not
Right.
something that we're currently committed to doing.
Right. Exactly.
All right.
Nope.
And usually those things are designed with purpose in mind, like whether it's performance or gameplay. There's usually a good reason for stuff to be in it
Right,
in
and
a
I think-
Forge palette.
I think it might actually break things if we tried to stick them in. So,
Good.
yep.
Frank, start dropping ramps on every map we got.
And, they're the easiest thing to manipulate. So there's ramps everywhere. Bam.
I'm looking forward to somebody making like a maze of man cannons on, on one of the maps, just like linking them back and forth and like creating a whole man cannon water slide maybe.
I was thinking of one of the future maps would be a really good way to shortcut across the map using zigzagging man cannons.
Mm-hmm.
One of our
Is it
cooler maps.
Did you give it a fake name yet?
I will.
Oh, you haven't yet. Yeah. No, we can't give that a fake name for a while.
No, it'll have to be completely obscure. We have to call it like Tiffany or something, just to like.
And
There it is,
done.
and there it's Tiffany.
Why not?
Yes.
Well, that's 45 minutes. God, we should probably either take a break or go home. What do you think, Sketch?
I think Barrett probably needs to get back to work. I mean,
Yeah, doesn't he have a seam to sew?
Yeah, I gotta hit send on 3 more maps.
Just sit back and start swimming in money.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Come straight to your PayPal account, right? All the marketplace points.
Oh,
They
done.
just like.
But yeah, we're really close to these. By the time this podcast airs, who knows when that's going to be? The maps will probably be maybe a week away from release at that point.
Yeah, exactly.
And
It's
then,
soon. It's gonna be exciting.
we got a little holiday break coming up, and then after that, you guys got some more stuff to finish up, I reckon.
Yep, we do.
More to say about that next year.
Yeah, lots of good stuff in the works.
Keeping people engaged and having fun for a long time.
Yep.
And speaking of, you worked last week during the holiday. This is the first week after Thanksgiving. You spent some time here, didn't you?
Yeah, I had to come in.
Some-
Some things
some-
broke.
And so-
Management.
Yeah, management. But so maybe sometime next year we can talk about what you did and what you were working on during the week of Thanksgiving.
Oh yeah.
Oh, it was
Oh, wait,
it was
give me
something
give me a
else.
clue.
Oh,
No
that's
idea.
right. I just heard about
right,
that. Sorry,
right,
it's
right.
secret.
We need another secret name for that.
Yeah. Well, we'll talk about it at the break that we're about to take right now. We'll be right back. We're back, and it's sort of like at the end of The Office after the show's actually over, and you come back for like the last outro joke, but there's no real joke because we went to go take a break and sat here and looked at each other and decided like, yeah,
We're
that's
done.
enough. Yeah, we're done.
Pretty much spent.
So Barry took off. Thanks to Barry for stopping in,
Yep.
and we'll be back probably next week.
We
for,
should be.
for the holiday show, maybe.
Yeah, we've got to do a holiday show.
We've got to do like a holiday special, like when you
What
get
should we
together.
do for that? You mean like the Ewok Christmas special?
Like I was thinking more like Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer when that's on every year, like the claymation version.
There's a couple different
Yeah,
ones though.
I
Which
saw
one do you
that.
mean?
The good one, the original,
What,
the
the elf
correct.
that wants to be the dentist?
Yes.
You mean? Or,
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's
The
good.
correct-
You mean wants to be a dentist? I mean, if you watch that with the subtext, he doesn't want to be a dentist.
I don't get it. I've
You
been
go
watching
watch
that
it
for
again.
years. Really?
No, just go watch it again.
Should we solicit any ideas for a holiday
Yeah,
special?
I guess if you have...
Send your ideas to Frankie.
No. I'll put a post on the forums for your
Yeah,
thoughts.
send your
for the,
good ideas to me and your crappy ideas to Luke.
Unfortunately, on the internet, there's no way to filter such things.
I think some caroling could be fun.
Yeah, so we'll take your submissions on the forums, and we'll be back in, I guess, a week.
You tell us. You're the producer of the show.
Yeah, I hope we're back in a week.
Schedule it.
Yeah,
Make it happen.
Schedule plus.
Yep.
Click.
The Bungie Studios podcast is mixed and mastered by Steve Lopez, produced by Tom Giaconda and Chris Gossett, and hosted by Brian Gerard, Frank O'Connor, Luke Smith, and Bungie Studios.